Hi, welcome to episode 7 of Ask Thomas George. So let's just jump straight in. The first one is from Saniel. Could you explain the importance of sample selection in music production? The phrase polish a turd, it's still a turd comes to mind. First of all, I'd like to say a lot of the modern DAWs, well, all the modern DAWs like Pro Tools, Logic Pro, Ableton, FL Studio, the samples in there are all really good. They're not turd. So yeah, I won't really say you'd be polishing a turd because the samples are pretty damn good. I'd say, yeah, if you really don't like the samples in there, have a look at maybe Xfer 2, that's one that I really like, or Vengeance is a classic one. Or you can go and make your own sample pack. I've done this. There's two ways you can do this. One is you can get like a little handy recorder. I use a Zoom H5 and go around and make your own sounds, record your own things. It can be anything, like your own claps, fridge door works well as a kick drum, or actually book a studio and have a drum kit and record your own sample. So spend half an hour just playing the different parts of the drum. So the kick drum at different velocities, the snare at different velocities, crashes, toms, etc. And then you've got your own sample pack that you made yourself. Yeah, if it's not sounding very good, I think it's your songwriting rather than the actual samples. Because yeah, in Logic, the samples are pretty great. And there's, I don't know, like over 20,000 of them. There's a lot to choose from. But yeah, just go through and find the ones that you think are suitable for your song. There's no real magic answer. You have to train your ear and think of what would suit your song and why would you want this certain instrument. Obviously, there's stuff like the EXS24, which is your own sampler, so you can have your own sounds and drag it in there. Then you can pitch and play all your samples on MIDI, or an Ableton, there's a sampler there, which is incredible as well. So yeah, if you're really unhappy with the samples, make your own, really. Next question is from Apt. Production tips when arranging. I've just finished a track and I'm happy with it, but because I've heard it, God knows so many times, it starts to grate on me. I know exactly what you mean. You've created a song yourself, you produced it, you've mixed it, and yeah, you've heard it 500 times or so and you just go insane. I'd say first of all, step away from the song, take a few days off and then go back to it. And then, yeah, it'll just drive you insane otherwise. Another thing, you can go and show your friend or show people online and get their opinion because, yeah, your ears just get sick of the song, hearing it over and over again. Your brain does as well. Production tips when arranging, I'd say be creative with your automation, try new ideas. A lot of things I like to do is like to reverse the instruments, certain parts. Think of a lot of counter melodies. I hear a lot of songs that people send me, and a lot of the time the song's pretty good, but the melody just sounds a bit weak. If you have a nice counter melody kind of interweaving with the main melody, it make it a lot more interesting. Also, harmony. There's loads of songs I get sent that just have the same 4 chords over and over again. If these people kind of mixed it up a little bit and had extra different chords and different harmonies, it would make it sound a lot more interesting. What you really want, I believe, in your arrangement is to take the listener on a journey and have all these little intricate parts. And the listener doesn't really realise what's going on. They just think the song's really great and creative. So just think of little ideas and little tips and try and think outside the box. But actual tips, yeah, just be experimental. Try new things you wouldn't do. I like to use the drone effect on Space Designer. You can make some really cool sounds with that. And you can always record stuff and stick it into the EXS24 or sampler and resample it again and play stuff. Obviously, a popular kind of technique is to get a vocal line and stick that in the sampler and use the vocal line or a vocal part as a riff or a melody. So there's loads of little ideas like that, really. But there isn't really a golden answer. Just try and be creative. Okay, Arnav, intro into mastering. Okay, that's quite a deep topic, really. But first of all, I like to say mastering is not the answer. Your mix is the answer. If your mix isn't any good, mastering is pointless. So, and songwriting as well. Make sure you've got a really good song, mix really well, then concentrate on mastering. But certain tips, yeah, trim the track. Make sure there's no dead sound at the start. And at the end, I like to wait about 2 or 3 seconds before the end of the track. Also, are you mastering an album or a single? If it's an album, you really want to master the whole thing together so it sounds consistent throughout. Other stuff, you want a limiter so it doesn't clip, because the worst thing you want is your song to clip. So make sure you've got a limiter. Also think about what style of music and what genre. For example, if you're doing dance music, you might want to compress it more than if you're doing jazz, for example, because what compression does, it gets rid of the dynamic range. So if it's kind of jazz improvisation, you really want that big dynamic range. But if it's more, I don't know, modern EDM, you might not want as much dynamic range. So think about your style and your genre. Have a reference track or several reference tracks. So find tracks that you want your mix to sound like, and just keep on referring back to that and listening and seeing what they do. Another tip is listen to your song on different platforms, or your master on different platforms. So different sets of studio monitors, good headphones, cheap headphones, earbuds, your laptop speakers, an iPod dock. I actually listen to my mix on my kitchen speakers as well, just to get a full range, because they're just cheap hi-fi speakers really. So yeah, don't just listen on your expensive, nice studio monitors, because a lot of people who listen to your track might not have decent studio monitors. So just think about that. There is plugins. Ozone 7 is a great one if you want kind of a little sneaky shortcut for mastering. A guy that I do mastering with, he uses the TC Electronics Finalizer 96K outboard plugin. It costs about 900 British pounds, so it's not that cheap, but it does sound really good. You have to wire it all in. It comes in its own little box, and that's really great as well. There's a guy who used to teach me called Paul Bailey, who's one of the pioneers of digitally remastering at Abbey Road Studios, and he told me the way him and his team did it is they just kind of made it up as they went along. They didn't really know what they were doing. They were thrown in the deep end. They were told to remaster all these tracks, and they just kind of messed around until it sounded good. And that's really what you've got to do. There's no golden rule. It depends on your track, your genre, what's going on in the track really, and just mess around until it sounds good really. Spend a lot of time tweaking. Don't rush it. And yeah, of course there's stuff like multi-band compressors and EQ you can do as well. But if you want the sneaky shortcut, yeah, just have a reference track and listen to it on multiple platforms. Clause. Best place to upload, especially remixes, as I can't get to upload them on Soundcloud. They are taken down instantly. Have no idea how anybody else manages to get their remixes on SoundCloud. Yep, this has happened to me as well. You do a remix and you put it on SoundCloud. What you need to do is get the permission of the copyright holder. So if it's a, I don't know, Calvin Harris track, you have to contact Calvin Harris's team and ask if you can get the permission, which, yeah, you might not get it really. So just, yeah, I'd say if you're going to do a lot of remixes, try and do the more underground artists. So for example, if someone messaged me and said, could I do a remix of your track, or could I put one of your tracks on SoundCloud? I definitely would. More, yeah, why not? More exposure. But if it's someone who's a big artist, they might not want their brands kind of diminish really if the remixes aren't as good as the original. So the big dogs or the popular people might not really want you to remix their tracks, so just be careful of that. There is websites like Mixcloud where you can upload your tracks. I've also heard on YouTube, if you do upload someone else's mix, they will sometimes allow it if the advertisement money goes to them. So say you get 1 million plays on there and they get, I think it's about £1,000 per million plays, something like that. So if they get £1,000 from that 1 million plays, you'll have to pay them because it's their song, not yours. But you still get your name out there. You still get the exposure because you're the person that did the remix. But yeah, I'd say yeah, you can try and risk it, but you're not meant to do it. Or yeah, get permission really is the best thing to do. And that way you've got yourself covered. But yeah, like I said, the big artists might not let you remix their tracks. But if you've done a really awesome remix and you send it to their manager, maybe their manager likes it and they'll let you upload it. Who knows? So yeah, it's always worth trying. Yeah, there is Mixcloud, but yeah, SoundCloud is the big one really. Yeah, so that's it for Ask Thomas George episode 7. If you've got any comments or feedback, just whack them below. And if you've got any questions for next week, episode 8, please stick them below. Thanks for watching, guys.